Do you ever feel discouraged? You're not alone, but can you find encouragement from a Bill and Ted cartoon? Cue intro. Geek Devotions, Geek Devotions, Geek Devotions, yeah! Hello and welcome to Geek Devotions, the show from devoted geeks who are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. I am PaulJPowers.com, and I'm a Save fanboy, and I'm also the co-host of the Retro Rewind podcast. Now, I'm not a stoner or a metalhead, but I love the fun-loving and general positive attitude of the characters of Bill and Ted. Did you know that there was a Bill and Ted cartoon?
No way.
Yes way, Ted!
It lasted for 2 seasons. There is a best of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures available on DVD, but only 16 of the 21 episodes can be found on it. One used to be able to find a smattering of all 21 episodes all over the internet, but nowadays only a few remain. One of those episodes that you might still be able to find online, if you're lucky enough to find it, and is in the best of collection on DVD, is from Season 1, Episode 10, titled, When the Going Gets Tough, Bill and Ted Are History. Oh, look at that. It's written by Paul Dini. Bonus points if you know who he is, and if you don't, you should. This episode begins with Bill and Ted playing their 4th gig, and they're still not good, so everyone in the concert leaves while they're playing. Being depressed and rejected, they decide to give up on music.
We were thrashed most odiously in our last concert attempt.
So we're gonna pack in the band and become nuclear astrophysicists.
Or burger jockeys, whichever has the most babe potential.
So the future sends Rufus back to get them on the right path. How do you encourage someone? You can tell them a joke and get them to laugh, or compliment them and give them a pat on the back. But this doesn't solve the discouragement problem. It only momentarily puts it on pause.
Guys, greatness takes time. Rufus, our newly hairy friend, we thank you most sincerely for coming to try and cheer us up.
However, there is no use continuing to play music no one wants to hear.
So how do you truly begin to help others or yourself when feeling discouraged? Tip number 1, distract them from their own problem by having them help other people solve their problems. When you're feeling discouraged about yourself or the way your life is going, take a step back and look at others. Maybe they need help. Galatians 6:2 says, bear one another's burdens, and thus you will fulfill the law of Christ. Hebrews 6:10 says, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Helping others is a big step when you're feeling discouraged. It helps takes the focus off of you and places it on others. Rufus does this by taking Bill and Ted through history to help some people with their problems. The first step is with Thomas Edison. He tried numerous of times to invent the phonograph, aka the record player, the first device to record sound. Edison was trying, and failing, to use a cylindrical object to record sound. Bill and Ted gave Edison the idea of using a disc, like a record, instead, and voila, success! In return, Edison gives a little advice.
Success is truly 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
Tip number 2, if you know what you're doing is good, don't give up on it. Even if you get discouraged, don't quit. Galatians 6 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Their next stop is Leonardo Da Vinci, who's having trouble with a lot of his inventions, including his flying contraption.
That makes 110 tries and 110 failures.
Dude, you've kept trying this thingy thing idea for 110 tries?
Feast your eyes on my failures.
Ever think maybe it's time to make a career change, dude?
My distinguished colleague Bill and I are giving up our band to become nuclear astrophysicists.
I consider that, but the babe potential is exceedingly low.
Bogus.
And my uncle Geppetto wants me to give it all up to work in his toy store. But I gotta be me.
Bill and Ted, with the help of Rufus, try to help, but the flying machine crashes and breaks apart. But then Leonardo takes one of the leftover pieces and invents the skateboard. Leonardo tried to do a lot of things, but some of those things worked, some didn't. And some of those that didn't led to those that eventually did. But sometimes things just don't work out at all. Have you ever tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter? Which leads to tip number 3, pray for wisdom. Do you ever feel you're at the end of your rope? Well, maybe you shouldn't even be on that rope at all. And it would be better if you let go of that rope and grabbed onto another one. But how do you know which ropes to hold on to and which to let go? That's where wisdom comes in. Pray, and seek the one who knows which ropes are which. James 1:5 says, if you need wisdom, ask your generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. And if prayer isn't helping, ask wise people you know. The Bible has many passages about seeking wise counsel. Proverbs 19:20-21 says, listen to counsel and accept discipline, that you may be wise the rest of your days. Many plans are in a man's heart, but the counsel of the Lord will stand. Okay, so Bill, Ted, and Rufus's next stop is England, 1776, to visit Joseph Priestley, a most excellent chemist dude. He invents carbonated soda, but it tastes most heinously sour. They blunder and mix chemicals and resulting a great taste. And then finally, they stop in Spain in 1942. Christopher Columbus keeps trying to get funding for his expedition to the New World, but no one believes in him enough to support him. He's already been to the King and Queen of Spain several times. Then Bill and Ted come along and convince Columbus to go back to the King and Queen and ask again. The Queen agrees, only just to keep him from coming back and asking yet again. This definitely reminds me of the parable of the persistent widow in Luke 18:1-6. Right, Jimmy?
Oh, why don't you stop annoying me?
Because Jesus said so, he said with his tongue firmly planted in his cheek. Which brings us to tip number 3. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially from God. The point in Luke 18 is to keep asking God for help. And don't think you're wasting his time or that it's too small of a request to be bothered with. He knows the numbers of hairs on your head right at this very moment, and he loves you very much. Seek him. Bill and Ted's adventures inspired them to continue practicing their music, and the future was saved.
Ted, I'm deeply inspired by the many events we have witnessed today. If dudes like Edison can put 99% of their perspiration into their futures,
And if Leonardo and the soda pop dude can fail and keep trying, we too can overcome the most heinous rejection and failure, because wild stallions rule!
Sometimes it takes perseverance and tenacity to continue doing the good work the Lord has called you to do. Sometimes it gets frustrating and discouraging. The Bible talks about overcoming this in many of its passages. It's a common theme. Why? Probably because so many people, not just now, but throughout history, struggle with this. 2 Thessalonians 3:13 says, as for the rest of you, dear brothers and sisters, never get tired of doing good. One of my favorite Bible verses is Joshua 1:9. In this passage, the Hebrew people are about to enter the promised land, but it's full of vile enemies and even giants. And God Almighty himself says, quote, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Question of the week. Am I prioritizing right? If you're discouraged, maybe you need a little joy in your life. The word joy reminds us how to prioritize and focus. J equals Jesus. O equals others. Y equals you. J, are you putting Jesus first? O, are you helping others? Y. Y, you. Yes, you. You need to take care of you. Are you seeking help for you? Again, I am pauljpowers.com. You can go there to find all my social media links and contact info. And you can also find the Retro Rewind podcast by searching us online. Just make sure you include the word podcast, because there are several other entities that show up without the word podcast, even amongst other podcasts. And remember, stay devoted, peace and love.